Very excited to welcome an OG to the stage. We've got Joe Spano, ShardDog, the man, the myth, the legend. Everybody knows him, and he's a big part of our ecosystem. He's going to be talking to us about marketing through Web3 mechanisms at DevHub and beyond. Let's welcome ShardDog to the stage.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. I appreciate you guys coming out. I'll try to bring a little bit more energy. I know it's the end of the day. I know people are tired, everything else. So let's get right into it. First off, I'm Joe. So if you don't know who I am, that's perfectly okay. I started in the ecosystem as co-host of Ready Layer 1 podcast. I'm a developer. I co-founded ShardDog. If you don't know what that is, it's a Web3 marketing platform, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I'm also currently a DevRel moderator at DevHub. And my focus is on retention, which I think pulls all this together. So we'll get into it. Why should you actually trust what I'm going to say today? And it's really kind of more than just that I have experience in the ecosystem. First off, I do actually have an extensive background in psychology. Just because I'm a developer doesn't mean I don't do other things. But I will tell you what, I make a mean pastel de nata. So if you guys know who Frol is, we're the best ones you've ever had. Also, I'm not going to shill anything. Just kidding. I'm going to talk about ShardDog a little bit too. All right, let's get into it though. Why you should really actually understand and trust what I'm going to say. My focus has always been on understanding user behaviors and what they need. And that's what we're going to kind of talk about today and talk about a little bit about marketing. We don't have a ton of time, so let's get right forward. So what actually is this presentation? Well, I'm going to quickly get into a brief history of when kind of marketing turned to crap and why we think that the open web can fix that. How selling became kind of a scam for a lot of things. Nothing really felt real anymore with marketing, and where the future actually of this kind of goes. It's going to feel like you're in here, hopefully. There we go. All right. So this is kind of where marketing kind of started a little bit, right? It's been around for centuries, and there's always been some kind of marketing. But really, when we think about modern marketing, it kind of starts with storytelling, right? The concept of, I'm going to sell you on that whatever I'm providing to you has a feeling that you are going to be part of something. But kind of that went sideways. And now we get kind of something like this. Just wanted to read your content, but nope. Here's sales. And that's a huge problem for where marketing has kind of gone. We're so caught up in always having to shove sales down your throat just because you wanted to actually access some content. So these are my wonderful dogs. And this could be us. This is how it could be. It could be nice in harmony with marketing and everything else like that, but it's not. Okay. Selling became a scam. Web 2 marketing really became about constantly just harvesting your data. It became about invading your privacy, and more we become conscious of how our privacy is getting invaded that we've started to back away. Think about like the things that you actually buy online. That started to kind of move to the side a little bit. And the TV and internet kind of ruined all of this, especially, right? Everything is about bombarding your senses, right? So everything is an ad, no matter where you go, no matter what you're watching, even if it's on Netflix. There's ads in the background. It's nonstop. There's no more autonomy on how you feel anymore. And that's a really big piece of the, we've lost that part of where we are in control of our own experiences. So instead you kind of feel like this, right? So you go through and we've given up our privacy for some free stuff and we just look ridiculous. That's also my dog. All right, so now what? So the model that we start to think about both at ShardDog and at DevHub is really thinking about the user in a different standpoint. About how do we start to model mechanisms around, again, autonomous behaviors. And you don't know what that means. It means that how does the end user feel in control of their actual experience? So the example that I always like to give is fan clubs. I'm on the older side, so remember back from like mail-in fan clubs. If you don't know what that is, I'm sorry. But mail-in fan clubs, you used to be able to actually mail in to like a band, and you'd pay a certain amount of money every year, and you'd get like merch and stuff like that, early access to tickets. but you felt in control of that experience. You had to actually opt into it. You would sign up for it and be part of it. So you felt good. Okay. Web3, though, marketing can actually start to do this. And Web3 marketing really is more about actually taking that approach of having that autonomous behavior and going a step further. So we believe to stop marketing and start engaging. And that's what we're doing over at DevHub, is that now the focus is no longer just about let's sell you something on why Near is the best developer experience, which it is, right? We all know it. That's why we're here. But we want to actually start to engage you as a user and better understand what do you need and how do we help you be successful instead of us trying to put our product to you. So here's where we're kind of at, right? Privacy has started to go away, kind of as I was alluding to before. Privacy has gone right out the window, yet as we've gone further down this pacing, now with what stuff that Apple's doing and Google and the likes and even Facebook at times, they are essentially providing moats for themselves by making things more restrictive, yet still your privacy is invaded by them. So we need to really start to look at how do we start to change that perception of what it is actually to be a user within a particular ecosystem, product, anything else. So the first part of that is reputation. So reputation, we believe, is the key to actually allowing you to start to have more autonomy as a user. And reputation does not have to be KYC. It does not have to be where you have to get doxxed. And that's the part where I think sometimes people get confused, right? Where if you start to behave a certain way and the different interactions you start to have, right, you get fed in current Web 2, you get fed all these different ads and your privacy starts to go away. But what if we could kind of go the other way where we say, look, if we don't have to actually build trust through doxing, if I don't have to show you so many ads, if I don't have to invade your privacy, can I still build your reputation? And in Web3, we can do that because of your activities on chain that can be verified and followed up on. So I'm sorry, I had to see this. You have to see this. I was using AI to come up with different memes, and I got this scary image. So sleep well tonight with this one. Enjoy. But again, I think the idea, you get it, hopefully. If you can actually use reputation on the blockchain, we can do something really interesting. So here's the meat of really kind of what this presentation is. We want to foster a culture of opt-in and genuine engagement in Web3. Okay. As you can see, one of my dogs is not opting into what he is saying, but we want to allow that to happen. And the reason why is because when you just track different behaviors, it doesn't really feel good, right? If you think about your experience, again, everyone has this talk where you say, oh, I was just talking about X, and now I see an ad for it, right? It's like, how does that happen? Well, that doesn't make you feel good, and that feedback really isn't useful to anybody. So on Web3, though, and you say, well, where did all this data go? Well, you can actually still store some data because, again, we can look at your on-chain behavior and start to form possibly a profile that is actually meaningful about who you are. So, and the reason why we say this is a little bit different is because you're actually in control. And the more in control of your own data and your ability to opt in, you are much more likely to be loyal to a product or to a resource than if you were the other way around. So if we're forcing you to be, and you have to opt out, now all of a sudden it's a completely different experience for you. Okay. The concept here is, and I'm going to keep saying it, autonomy leads to retention. Okay? So again, letting the user feel in control leads to retention. Okay. So how does this fit into DevHub? So at DevHub, again, our goal is to bring in developers. We want more developers in the ecosystem. We want you to be here. We want you to be happy. We want you to stick around and build something for the long term. One of the ways that we can start to do that is look at, again, on-chain tracking and your user engagement. Are you actually deploying contracts? Are you building components? You know, what are you actually doing on chain? And especially now with, again, like boss components and everything else, we get a really nice picture of how active you are in the developer community just as a builder. Secondarily, we can start to use actual NFTs as a marketing strategy. So you start to attend different groups, right? Maybe you're part of the infrastructure group. Maybe you're part of the ZK group. And now we can award you an NFT for participating as part of that. You're building a profile. We don't need to know who you are. You don't have to be doxxed. I don't need to know your name. I don't need to know where you live. I don't need to know anything else about you. Your username can be I love kittens, and that's great. It doesn't matter. We know that maybe you are a engaged builder because you've collected all of these NFTs for the different groups and participating, and you're shipping code on chain. We can also start to look at reputation in another way too. That comes from challenges. So at DevHub, we're going to start introducing soon challenges where you can actually start to, it's not really competition necessarily, but it's your own, you know, can I complete a task? Can I figure out a puzzle? Things like that. We start to see where that starts to get put together. Different events, like I just mentioned, you participating in groups. And then contributions. So DevHub is all about being able to actually contribute. And again, whether it's earning financially or otherwise, you can actually go onto the DevHub website and you can actually start to become a contributor. And that's a really powerful piece because now, again, you are opting in to be part of our community. You are opting in to be in control of what you actually put out there. And if you don't, maybe you have 2 or 3 different wallets that you're using, that's okay, because those can have different reputations. So here's our journey that we're looking at DevHub, and we think that this is, again, where this all kind of comes together. Whether you start here like today at a hackathon, or come through an educational channel like our Near Campus, or, you know, once you go from there, it's about how do we start to engage you and make sure that you feel part of the ecosystem and you feel welcome. And that comes from, again, being able to actually participate as a contributor to the broader ecosystem. Most people are here because you believe in the open web in some source. And so this is an opportunity for you to actually start to be engaged in that. How do we start to look at different continued actions, whether it's bite-sized engagement, whether it's actually, again, challenges, whatever we might start to put out there for you, you can start to become more engaged by, again, earning NFTs or whatever it might be and build a reputation. Actually, going back to my previous slide, that build-up of reputation is so important for this. Following up. So now that you've opted in, now we can actually start to go back and leverage some things that maybe are still Web 2, whether it's social media, email, whatever that might be, and reach back out to you. The difference there is now you've already engaged. You are a willing participant into the ecosystem. It's something that you want to be part of. So as long as we're doing our job, providing you relevant information in that follow-up, now, again, this is going to hopefully strengthen how you feel towards what you're doing on Near. This applies to any project. So if you have a project that has any kind of community, when you think about how do you start to actually integrate that community into it, these are the type of skills that you want to be able to have. And again, reputation building, as I've been talking about. So let me kind of end near here, okay? You're building an engaged audience, okay? You're not just there to have people buy your stuff. And that's the biggest difference. When you have people who are there to actually engage in with what you're doing versus me trying to sell you anything. Now we're actually building community. I'm going to build a lifelong user, hopefully. And now you have a reason to come back that feels natural and it feels of your own volition, which is hugely important, okay? As I said, and made a quote of this, autonomy leads to retention. The more I make you feel like that you are ownership of everything that you're doing on chain and interacting with our community, and you feel strongly about that, you are going to stay around. And that's what we really want. That's what we hope to provide for you at DevHub. And that's what we try to do with my product, ShardDog. I'll end here. Maybe not. There we go. If you have questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me on Twitter or X, whatever we call it. You can see my project at ShardDog and see how we're doing this. You can also please follow Near DevHub. We're doing a lot of really great things with the developer community besides just hackathons like this. There's a lot of great resources there. Please take the time to check that out. And again, don't hesitate to ever ask me some questions, and I appreciate your time. This was a lot of fun, even though it was fast. Thanks.